pledge.
Sorry about that. I'm supposed to remind you. I failed. Okay. All right. We've had the Pledge of Allegiance. There are no members of the public present, so we don't have any comments. So the next item on the agenda is reports, and that would be the secretary.
So we're just looking for approval of the August meeting minutes.
Did
Mary?
anyone have any changes, additions, modifications? Corrections, anything? No, hearing none. Can I have a motion to approve the,
So moved.
I'm sorry, who's that?
So
MA.
move. I'll cut you right off.
Oh, you're moving. Oh, sorry, Emma. And may I have a second?
I'll second that. It's Colleen.
Okay, all those in favor, aye? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? None, hearing none, and no abstentions? Good, okay. All right,
Well, I should have abstained. I wasn't at the meeting.
well, shame on you.
Okay, Dale abstains.
Okay, okay, great. So the next item would be financial report, I believe.
Okay, yep, let me just.
You know, I should have moved to dispense with the reading of the minutes. I'm so sorry. Can I have a motion on that, please? To dispense with the reading of the minutes into the record?
I make the
Well, you know-
motion.
And may I have a second, please?
I'll second it. It's Colleen again.
All right,
Dale
all
was the first and Colleen was the second.
and all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, abstentions? Hearing none, it's unanimous. Okay. Is that something alcoholic you're drinking, I hope?
I wish
Hot tea.
Okay, sorry about that. If it is, I'm jealous. Okay,
Hot tea, not a hot toddy.
no, too bad. Okay, financial report number 2. Ooh,
So that's page 7 of your packet, and you should be seeing my screen shared at page 7 here. You have your packet in front of you.
Okay.
Not really too much to report. We're doing fine budget-wise. You know, we're a little bit ahead of where we're supposed to be with part-time payroll because we're doing some training, and we were staffing a little bit of a higher level than we needed to for a couple of weeks. So we're working on getting back to where we're supposed to be, but I'm not too concerned with the holidays and everything. We should be okay for the year. Yeah, and other than that, unless there's any questions, there's not really anything else I'd want to point out.
are there any questions? I don't think I have any. On the financial report? I'm sorry, who was that? Are there any questions on the financial report, comments, additions, corrections?
Pat, I could,
Gail, are you there?
am I really there? Finally. Okay.
Okay, we're on the financial report. And so far, no one's had any questions, comments, or thoughts on it. Do you have any?
No, I don't. It looked good to me when I reviewed it.
Okay. Okay.
I do have a question.
Sure.
It's Donna.
Mhm.
On page 8, Kevin, it mentions the Blinn donation expense.
Mm.
It shows a balance of $13,000. What is that?
I actually don't know what that is. That's a fund that I think I didn't have access to previously, and I just copied it.
Well, and I don't remember it appearing on our reports before. I don't know, maybe I just didn't notice it, but it jumped out at me because they did make a very substantial donation several years ago. That's how we got a lot of the public computers or the
Okay.
in clients. But can we check into that?
Sure. Is that supposed to be a library account? Because I asked because I recently, when I went to make this report, I ended up pulling suddenly all of the accounts for all the departments. So I had to winnow them down to what the library's accounts were. So I may have, it's possible that maybe I'm not supposed to have it on this one and I just didn't delete it by accident.
Donna, if I go back to, from when they donated the money, that was never supposed to be a library account. It was a donation made, a one-time donation made in memory of a deceased parent.
Right, I know,
And
that's why I'm supposed.
Yeah,
that's
you
why I'm
know that.
supposed
That's
to-
why I agree with you. We should question it because it's never been on here all these years. and it
Okay,
shouldn't be.
so
Okay,
is that something that you can delete, Kevin, from this to correct it?
Oh, I can definitely
We
delete
need-
it, but I
we
can
need to
also
find
reach
out.
out to finance and see what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah, if that's necessary, and
Well,
because
if
I
in
don't,
fact-
I'm sorry.
If in fact there is a balance left in that account.
Hi, Donna. Okay, so Donna or Kevin, which one of you is going to check into that?
I will.
Okay, cool. Okay. Are there any other issues? Okay, I believe we are now into the library director's report.
Do we need to accept this?
We haven't before.
Okay,
It's a report, so I don't think we really have to have a motion to accept it. On the minutes we did because we have to approve them. But typically, I don't recall us having a vote on accepting it. So if we could move on, I guess. Library director's report.
Okay, so on page 9 of your packet, Town Center Project is holding the Harvest Moon Fest on October 23rd. That's this Saturday in the library parking lot. The library is participating in the event by holding a teen haunted house event that is from 4 to 6 on that day. So the event will be in the front parking lot closest to Route 66. The rear parking lot will be reserved for patron use during the day. We're just going to close that front parking lot off for the entire Saturday that we're open, so that we don't have to chase people out when they start setting up around 11 or noon. So it should be a good event. The teens have been working hard on the haunted house, and I think it's going to be fun. So hope it goes well. In September, the Strategic Plan Committee disseminated 2 surveys, one for patrons and one for community partners. We received 177 patron responses and 11 partner responses. The results have been shared with the committee, and we just discussed them as part of our meeting previous to this one. One of our recently hired LTAs decided to leave the position. Their hours are effectively covered by the rest of the staff. So we don't need to hire at this moment, but we are planning on losing another longtime staff person in December. So likely we'll end up hiring a new person in January to cover their hours. The equity programs sponsored by the Hebron Together Community Fund Grant have been scheduled and added to the library calendar. I'm calling the group of programs Equity Boot Camp. It's a series of 3 workshops run by the Alliance for Collaborative Equity and 3 book discussions run by library staff. The programs take place on the 3rd Tuesday of each month from January to June. So on page 10, I think there's a poster for all 6 of the events, and there'll be individual posters that are going up as well. So please help spread the word. The library received a complaint about how low the large print collection is on the shelves. So in response, staff is working, has worked. We've rearranged the shelves to raise the items up 6 inches from their current level. That's as high as we can raise them with the current shelving setup, but I hope it at least helps a little bit. Supplemental materials for the town's application for the state library building grant were all provided in advance of the October 1st deadline. So we're good for that. We're just waiting for an answer. In-person story time has been going well. Classes are smaller than pre-COVID, but the participants are appreciative. I expect it to grow as word gets out. It's been fun to have the kids back in the library and seeing them every Tuesday and Thursday morning. And we're going to continue that without a break through the holidays. The Children's Department is looking to bring therapy animals into the library for reading time with children between the ages of 6 and 12. This is for boosting confidence. The children get to read to a dog or another therapy animal. It's very popular at other libraries. We're going to try it here. And the Friends of the Library donated funds to replace the children's library's outdated state books materials. So they're updated with the information from the 2020 census. The older books are being donated to an in-need school. So that was a really nice donation. Those are always a big purchase. And they're also not really a fun purchase, but you've got to make them to make sure that those books stay up to date. So I've got another section for building, but I can just hold off until the building report for that.
Okay, does anyone have any comments, questions, thoughts? I have a question. Who is bringing in the therapy animals?
Sherry doesn't have somebody picked out yet. I think she's kind of has some people that she was asking around, and she doesn't have a vendor picked yet.
Okay, now here comes a really stupid question. Does our insurance cover this?
I don't know. That's a good question. I would assume that the insurance of the vendor would cover it because they'd be responsible, but Donna's shaking her head no.
No.
Well, they
that's-
probably have the vendor or the whoever we get the therapy animals through, I'm sure would have their own liability insurance, but we definitely would want to run this by our insurance company before we make any final plans on that, because if anything were to happen, if there were to be lawsuits or anything, they're going to sue everybody involved. Hopefully not. It would be something that would not happen and there wouldn't be suits, but they sue everybody involved when that does happen. So I'd want to run it by our insurance company.
Okay, thank you, Donna.
Yeah, thank you, Donna, and thanks for the question.
I'd like to add something in about the therapy dogs.
Okay.
Some of you know that we did have therapy dogs for quite a few years. And one of the women who was doing it does it for many libraries around the state. And as I go around the state now, I find out that it is still a popular item. So, but yes, I'm always very conscious about legal liability. So we should check into it, but it's not unusual.
No, I think it's a good idea. I'm just concerned, animals,
liability,
children,
yeah.
I mean, large dogs knock children over even if they're not biting them. So, okay, let's see. So we're going to hold that off until we get into the building portion. That would be under old business. Okay, Friends of the Douglas Library.
We don't have a report, a representative tonight from the Friends.
So we don't have any friends? I guess not.
Not tonight.
Okay, all right. Town manager representative report.
Okay, a few things. We're gearing up for budget. Tomorrow night, the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance, Board of Ed will hold their annual joint meeting. And we hope to get some budget direction so that the department heads will know as they start to prepare their budgets what we should be looking at. I think later on this agenda, we'll be looking at, Kevin prepared his CIP request, so we'll be taking a look at those because those are due in a couple of weeks. I've been spending a lot of time working on the RFP for the library roof, working with the building committee on getting that ready to go out to bid. We do, like Kevin mentioned, we're waiting to hear from the state on that grant. And it could change some of the content in the RFP. So hopefully we do hear from the state before we finalize and put that RFP out to the public. And then I've been working on our computer replacement plan to take a look at our current inventory and what computers will fall into the schedule for replacement. And then another thing that we were working on townwide is the security for our buildings. We have money budgeted for security measures in our buildings. And last week, we did have a vendor go around and look at all the buildings, including the library, to take a look at security measures that we could enhance or put into place. They're looking at cameras, alarm circuits, fire alarm panels and circuits. And we're going to try to do keyless entry systems for all of our buildings. So those are some of the things that we've been working on.
Oh, great. So you've been keeping
Thank
yourself
you.
busy. That sounds
All
like.
the time. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Board of Selectmen. Gail?
Yes, I'm here, even though my camera's not working. I have nothing new to report because Donna does such a great job. And the big thing is the budget tomorrow night.
Okay, and when are we going to change to Board of Select Persons? Just a thought. Moving on.
It doesn't bother me. I don't
Okay.
need a change in order to make me feel good, but
Well, that's what matters.
yeah.
Okay, the next thing is the chairperson report, and I don't have anything new to report. Kevin and I had a conversation today, but he's handling everything in his reports and in the meeting, so I think we're all set with that. Okay. All business. That's number 5. This was where we do the building updates, Kevin.
Okay. So mold was found in the basement of the building in September. The HVAC was not pulling enough moisture out of the humid late summer air, and the town manager's office assisted me in getting ESC back here to address the issue. ESC brought an outside company in to balance the HVAC system, and it seems to be working better since then. The feeds and what was being sent out of different vents was kind of all over the place. He made a lot of adjustments, so I'm hopeful that's going to fix the problem. It's also, the weather's a lot different than it was in August and September, so we won't really know if the fix is there until we get another period of hot, humid weather.
A question is that what mold was there? Is it being remediated?
Well, that's something that's kind of in progress. There was some white mold on the chairs in the community room, and then some on walls and the floor in a few areas. That was like wiped up, but we haven't had a full cleaning of the floor. That's something that I need to look into to see if it's something that needs to be done. Certainly, all the chairs do need to be cleaned. We just right now cleaned the one enough to do programs as we need them, but it's only about a half to 1/3 of the total chairs in the closet. Some of them still have mold on them.
Okay, is there any intake valves or anything that would distribute the mold spores through the library?
I believe we're getting all of our fresh air directly from outside, so I don't think that's an issue. That was
all right. Yeah, because we need to be very careful about that since I'm involved in a lawsuit with that right now. So, okay, moving on to Poet Laureate.
We've still got a few more building things that we can touch on.
Sorry,
quick.
so sorry.
That's okay. The electrical outlet behind the basement water fountain was repaired by Professional Electric.
Oh.
And so that it was put back, the water fountain is put back on the wall, and now both of the water fountains are fully functional. That one we can check off the list. They're working very nicely.
Excuse me, as water fountains or as bottle fillers?
Well, both are functional, but the water fountain portion is off limits. So just
Okay,
bottle
that's
fillers
my-
are,
okay.
yeah. I put a cup over the top of the drinking part and a sign. So if somebody was really determined, they could lift the cup up. But
And use it.
yeah, they could, But yeah, the bottle fillers are available for use. The power and data ports necessary to install the pickup lockers on the outside of the building have been installed as well. I don't have an installation date for the lockers. The company reached out and told me that production was running behind, which, makes sense. And we're working right now with Novus and Bibliomation and the locker company to coordinate the the data transfer that the lockers require. They'll require a little bit of data to send out the notifications for the items ready for pickup. So we're figuring out how that's going to work. And don't know how many snags we're going to run into that yet, but as of last week, they were having some conversations.
Okay.
As far as the building project spreadsheet on page 11, so installation of the locker systems I just talked about, and then windows. This was really from, I guess it was, yeah, would have been our September meeting. So we found out that Kelly Fredette, the company that was supplying us with the windows, can't supply us with the remaining windows that we need to finish up the building project. So Pierce Carpentry, who's been installing and handling all of this, came in with another vendor, Sanford and Hawley, and they remeasured the windows and they put in an order for those. They're going into production ASAP, but I wouldn't expect to see them until probably December, and maybe even later than that. I don't know what their lead time is exactly. But this seemingly simple project continues to stretch out, but that should be the last chunk of it. Hopefully they can get that together. And I moved the water fountains down to completed projects. So that is it for building updates.
Okay. Did anyone have any questions or comments or thoughts? Now can I move on to Poet Laureate, Kevin? Okay.
Yes, please.
The next item is Poet Laureate. Did any reports on that?
Go ahead, Gail.
Okay. We have our material all ready to go. Mary Ann and I worked on it, the press release, the application and the like. So if the board wants, we could get it started. This might not be a good time as we're going into holiday season, perhaps in January, have a little get acquainted in the periodical room. And people could come and ask questions and we would have applications ready for any budding poet in town to pick up and fill out and complete with a poem.
Do we have any board members with questions about the Poet Laureate position? Do any of you have any questions? Because some of you were not on the board when we actually had this approved.
That is true.
Would you mind giving us a little report on that, please? Bring us
Well, I
all up
thought
to
you
date.
might,
No?
thought
mean-
people might have specific questions, but well, we can do that. We decided, we thought about it. We had received a question from someone, so we moved forward on this position, and we wrote up all of the, I don't know what they're called. What are they called, Donna, or what's it called? That we had to submit to the town that had to be approved for the ordinances.
The
That word will
ordinance.
do.
Yeah,
Yes.
the ordinance.
And that's all inclusive, and that, I think that went out to everyone. Didn't it fairly recently, back when Gail submitted a couple updates and I included them, not in the ordinance, but in these other, right, so they went out in about, I don't know, sometime this summer, I think. Anyway, it was all approved by the town and we've moved forward, and then COVID hit. We've been hoping to receive a few poems. A few have been submitted, but not many. But if we could get it going, we'd get a better feel for what interest there is in the town for people to apply for said position.
I did have one question. How long is this honorary position awarded for?
In my
I
opinion,
think
1 year.
1 year?
That's what I think, yeah.
Yeah. I think it should be 1 year so it can rotate around anyone else. Perhaps 1 year would be a high school student. You want poems, third graders can write poems. They learn about it in school. You want to get interest for all ages, not just the retired person who's sitting writing poems, but take a look at those kids in school. There's talent there. And by having some in the newsletter recently, I think that's kept a little interest going also.
Not just that, but the poet laureate, Kim herself, could make herself available to the schools.
Mm,
And,
That's right.
go to classes and so on. That
That's
was
an
part of it. I
excellent-
know,
that's excellent.
yeah.
I see the poet laureate going into the libraries as the classes in the elementary school rotate through the library and can present briefly, just a few minutes, to the youngsters about it. And up in the high school, kids go into the library for studies, for reference. And if somebody was there on a given day for certain periods, they could engage the kids in a conversation and perhaps get some interest.
In addition to that, the poet laureate could get right into the English classes at the high school, middle
Mhm,
school levels.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could also sponsor readings. You know, the person could either read or, be the principal reader at a group reading too.
Right, in the library, yes, that was
Yeah.
one of the first things we talked about.
That's excellent.
So
Many
we
other
want everyone
towns
in-
do have a poet laureate, so we know it is acceptable and gets support in many towns.
I'm in favor of anything that supports the arts, you know.
And there you go. I like that.
Okay,
I have the ordinance here, and it is a 1-year term,
oh, thank you.
and with the potential for extension of 2 additional years as recommended by the Board of Trustees. And there
We
is,
covered it, yeah.
they must be 18 years of age and a resident of Hebron for at least 1 year. And then there's a list of things that they, should be able to submit poetry samples, prove their excellence in the profession and advancement of poetry in Hebron. But the ordinance is online if you want
Okay.
to see it. Or I can, you know what I'll do is I'll send a link right now and then everybody
Okay,
will.
excellent.
Yep.
Is this person going to be going to the Connecticut Coalition of Poets Laureate?
Well, possibly. We don't have a poet laureate yet. That's
Yeah.
why we want to get moving.
Yeah, because we want to encourage them to get into that group. They're all local people and they seem to have a good time a lot of times. So I think it's something we should consider too. And they do have events. I mean, they did have an event down at the State Library not too long ago, by the way. Okay, moving again onward. The ACLB Board Assessment Tool.
Yep, I'm here, even if my camera isn't. As many of you know, the Connecticut General Statutes provide for each library, principal library in the town, to have a board of directors, trustees, whatever term you use. Here in Hebron, we are a municipal library with a board of trustees that is elected. Our thoughts, and as many of you know, I am the president of the ACLB for a few more years than I had planned. And I work very closely with Dawn Laval, who's the director up at the Connecticut State Library.
Mm-hmm.
We go around to many towns. I've just been at several towns in the last few weeks. I'm going to be somewhere else next week. They're large and small libraries. What that has enabled me to find out is that there is a lot of questions as to the roles and responsibilities of a board of trustees. People very often do not realize their fiduciary capacity. They must serve with due diligence. So there is some responsibility, and that's why over a period of months, we developed this tool that would allow libraries to delve into themselves and see if they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. So what we did, we came up with this tool, and I thought I would go over one part of it tonight, because and then we could maybe have a 2-second discussion of the parts of it. But when I wrote this, I was very cognizant that the libraries in Connecticut are of very different sizes. So we have big libraries. Some of the items there wouldn't pertain to us. And we even have smaller ones than in our town. So some of it is not specific. You're going to say, hey, that's not for us. But boards have a fiscal and administrative decision to make. And those decisions affect the functioning of your library. So as I said, we must exercise due diligence. And that's why we wrote this. So some of the things that are on this section, which we could look at tonight, the first one is, and you rate yourselves, do we know the history of the library? Obviously, Donna and I know the history of the library after what we did a few years back. And I know Mary Ann sent out something on the history, but it is important to know the history of the library. You know how you got to where we are, and preserve it for the future. The next one should be easy. I think you all know the library's mission statement. The strategic plan is something that's being looked at right now. We're working on creating a new one, as the other one was done a few years ago, and much has changed in the world and in libraries in the last few years. The library's policies. Right now, I would propose that we look at the library policies and realize that, again, we need to add something to it. We do not at this time have a digital inclusion policy because that's something new just recently. And one that has come up in some of my travels is a policy pertaining to limited English proficient patrons. I know we don't generally have that here in town, but it could happen, and we should have a policy for when it does come up. The organizational structure of our library. Larger libraries have assistants and reference librarians. We have Kevin, who wears many hats, changing every couple of minutes. But we do have 2 full-time employees, and all board members should be familiar with how the library is working and who's in charge of what. We have part-time clerks. They have 2 grades. Everybody on the board needs to know about that. The next item on that paper in your packet was union contracts, which of course we do not have. And we don't have a contract with our library director. He's employed by the town. We evaluate him annually. And the ACLB handbook, it's online. Someone mentioned that we should put the URL code there, but that changes so frequently. The secretary of ACLB would constantly be changing that. So I'll leave it as that way. If you want to read it, and you should read it, then find it on our website. So I guess the thing what I really need to emphasize here is you have a legal fiduciary responsibility when you become a library trustee. So anyone who has any questions can get me at any time. As I go around the state doing board basics, we have a PowerPoint. We answer questions, large libraries, which is what we were at 2 weeks ago. The week before that, it was a small one. So I've done everything from towns of 6,500 people, 65,000 people, that is, to one recently where their population is 1,900. So that's my blurb for tonight. And I'd like to do the other sections. The next one is a big concern of mine, board operations. And I'd like to do that at the next meeting.
Okay, Kevin, could you include that in the next packet for the next meeting?
Sure, yes, of course.
Okay.
Kind of like that, board operation, getting that agenda done.
Okay, and you'll provide something for Kevin for his packet then?
Oh,
Gail?
yes, he has the whole thing, but,
Oh, excellent.
yeah.
Okay, excellent. Okay. Did anyone have any questions or comments about
I have a-
any of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I do. Hi, it's Colleen. Gail was really very thorough before I joined the board, and thank you for that. But I have to confess, I did not know there were 2 grades of part-time clerks.
So that's, yeah.
Can you explain that? Thank you.
Yeah, that is one of the things that would come up later in the packet, is that we really
Okay.
should have an orientation kit for new members. And years ago, when I was chair, that's what I did. Give you a tour of the library, get you acquainted with the handbook. We have a very serious role, and we need to get a little professional about it.
Agree. Thank you.
Kevin was very helpful when I got onto the board. I mean, he gave me a little presentation, brought me up to date on everything. Talked a little bit about the structure of the library, and it was very
Good.
nice. It was a very nice meeting. So I recommend that highly. Sorry, Kevin.
I'm
No,
You
available.
got a swell head, Kevin.
Just my camera's on.
I've never been given that tour.
It's one of your many hats.
And he even serves refreshments. Hint, hint. Sorry.
Oh, freshman.
You gotta let me know so I can bake before though.
Okay, did anyone have any more thoughts or comments about this?
I would like to say that when I looked through this section, I learned how much I didn't know.
It's a lot more complicated than you would think. I mean, as well as having your professional role and your political role with the town, you sort of also have an obligation to the patrons and the staff. So it's much more complicated than I had realized when I started.
Much more important.
We have an obligation to the town, Pat, in that the library is an asset of the town.
Yes,
It's a publicly owned, it's taxpayer money. So
taxpayer money.
We have an obligation to make sure we're using that term that you know so well, due diligence, and what we're doing. The policies that we're putting forth, are we best meeting the needs of our community that's paying for this?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's not our money. It's
Right.
I just
okay.
had a quick question. And Gail, I think you mentioned that we did not have a digital inclusion policy. Was that what I heard?
Correct.
Okay, I'm not sure what a digital inclusion policy is. And, but do we have plans? Have you
I will
talked
be
with Kevin to
getting,
work on it?
Actually, with the mini conferences, well, I better step back a little bit. A digital inclusion committee on the state has been recently established. And there's a few people who have been getting some national training on this.
Oh,
And in the mini conferences, in lieu of our all-day leadership conference, which you and some others have gone to,
mhm.
we couldn't do that again this year. So we're going to do, like we did last year, mini conferences. And one of the items that I'm going to be scheduling is going to be a digital inclusion roundtable. About 4 or 5 people to discuss this. And then it would be up to us to develop a policy to keep us up to date.
Okay.
And Gail, from what I understand, it's like making sure that people know how to use technology, and also that they have access for the use of technology, especially people that are underserved
Yes,
or groups that are underserved. Is that about right?
you are correct. Yes, that is it. we have to look at what we have here in town. We tend to think of this town as being fairly affluent, but in going around campaigning, doorbell ringing, and looking at the number of kids that qualify for lunch, we have a hardcore population of people who do need services.
Mhm.
And we want to make sure we meet that need in the library.
Yeah. And unlike other countries, we don't have universal internet. It's all based on
Right.
private purchase. I mean, other
Mhm.
countries, that's just something you get. But so it's something we have to be very, very careful about. One thing that COVID has made us aware of is how quickly students can fall behind if they don't have the proper access.
That's right.
Mhm.
Mm. Okay. If there aren't any questions and Gail has nothing else to add, thank you very much for your hard work, both of you. I guess the next thing would be updates on grants.
Not too many updates on grants. We got everything submitted for the building grant. So we're just waiting on a response from that. And, starting to pay bills slowly from the ARPA grant as they're coming in. And same with the Hebron Community Together grant.
Did they give you an idea when they'll be getting back to us, if there's going to be another round or whatever with the state?
I think they award them in November. I don't
Yeah.
have an exact date, but I think it's November, mid-November.
That would be a nice Christmas present, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm hoping before Thanksgiving.
Okay. Because I'm sort of anxious. I think I thought you did a great job with everything you put in. So,
Thanks. I got my fingers crossed. It feels good to me. So
yeah, I was very happy. It looked very good. I mean, I would give you the grant if I was there. Okay. CIPA compliance.
So SEPA compliance is the Child Internet Protection Act. And that's part of the ARPA grant, is that anything that we get through that grant where the public is able to access the internet from needs to have a certain amount of filtering on it to protect children from accessing certain content. So we need to do that before we can purchase those parts of the grant that we applied for.
Mhm.
Part of it is also having an updated computer, internet, and Wi-Fi use policy with some language that they've asked for. So we need to update our policy, and then as part of that, we need to schedule a public hearing before it's official. So this is the first step of that.
Mhm.
In your packet on page 15, you've got the computer, internet, and Wi-Fi use. So this is the proposed update. The changed text is highlighted in yellow, and then the omitted text has strike through it. So let me just share this.
The yellow you said is the new material?
Yes.
The yellow is the new material. So it's those 3 paragraphs at the beginning. And then there's a couple of bullet points under unacceptable use of computers, internet, and Wi-Fi. And a lot of this language came, directly from the policies that the state had as examples. I just tried to tailor it to what was already there.
Hmm. Excellent. Looks good. Did anyone else have any thoughts or comments on this? What's the schedule for this, Kevin, by the way?
Well, I was hoping to get a public hearing in the November meeting, but it just occurred to me that there's not 30 days between now and then. So I think the earliest we could probably do it is we approved it as a board now, or theoretically in November. Then we could do a public hearing before the meeting, our December board meeting. And then we could move from there. And I think then we'd be all set for this
Okay.
part. We still have to get the filtering installed, which is something that I'm working with Novus on.
Is this something you need us to vote on at this meeting, or should we be waiting till the next meeting?
Let me glance at the calendar. I think there's 30 days between the November and the December meeting. So November meeting is.
Yeah, it looks like you
December-
included that page. You've got like 35 or 6 days.
Okay.
Yeah, so we could wait till next month if you wanted to. I'd initially thought we'd be able to do the hearing in November, so I wanted it done tonight, but now it doesn't make a difference.
Okay,
Well, I think the sooner we accept it, and then we can look, if we accept it now, then we can keep moving forward.
I
Yeah.
agree with Dale.
Okay.
Everyone has had this in their agenda packet that they received quite a few days ago. So why don't we just vote on it now and get it done?
Right.
sounds good to me. Does anyone have any reservations about moving forward with the vote or need more time to review this?
No.
We've been
Okay.
discussing it for a
I
while.
assumed we would be voting.
That is true, Dale.
Okay, does anyone want to make a motion to accept the policy as set forth in the packet? Of
I-
course, removing the stuff that's been put lines through, of course.
I so move that we accept the packet.
I'll
And I
second that
second that.
motion. Huh?
Okay, any discussion? No, not hearing none. May I hear all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Also aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? I think we just had a unanimous vote on that, Kevin.
Great. I'll start getting the public hearing in motion.
Okay. Okay, and you'll clean it up so it doesn't look yellow and have cross marks and all that.
Oh
good
yeah,
stuff.
it'll look,
Really nice, huh?
yeah, I'll pick out a real special font.
Okay, and you'll be working on the public hearing and the publication. Okay. Okay, did anyone have anything else under old business?
So you probably should go ahead and schedule the public hearing and change that meeting time for the December meeting.
Yep, we have it under new business.
Okay.
That's revised 2021 meeting schedule.
Oh, okay, great. Excellent. Well, then I guess we shall move on to new business then. And the revision of the 2021 meeting schedule.
Yeah.
Well,
So
wait a minute, when you're talking about that public
Mm-hmm.
meeting, that will be at the December 13th meeting, but 15 minutes earlier, correct?
it's separate from the meeting. It's a separate meeting, but kind of all the same people are
Right,
there.
but
So
but
typically,
it'll
yeah.
be 15 minutes earlier. And that,
We
we
would-
don't have that posted, so don't we have to do something about that now?
But
You
for,
do
I'm sorry.
have to approve a motion setting the public hearing date.
so would
Right,
that,
so we have to do that now.
would that be for the December meeting? Is it my question? Would
Yes.
would that
Yeah,
be the date?
So the public hearing would happen on Monday, December 13th at 7 PM.
Okay, and that would be prior to
our
Okay.
meeting.
our meeting. Okay,
We would need to make a motion for
At-
that
at-
in the public hearing.
You want to
Okay.
do it at
Motion to
7?
adjust the
Wait a
schedule.
minute,
that's a good question. What time should that be for the public hearing?
6:45, so we can
6:45.
start our meeting at 7.
right.
Okay. Because we have the time scheduled for this meeting, I think already, so we should have it at a different time. Does anyone-
6:45 is I think gives us 15 minutes. That's should be adequate.
That's plenty.
Yeah, and
Very
Kevin,
much so.
what was
Do
the
we
date?
have a strategic planning meeting that night?
Ah,
That was the thing behind putting it at 7, is it would give us
Right.
time between the strategic planning meeting and this meeting.
okay, do we have to change anything about notices for the December meeting and the time that that's being held? Or is that okay? Because
If we're changing this, because the posted time right now is 7 PM for this meeting, so we would have to post that it was going to be at 7:15. And so it's two things. We'd have to post that we're changing the regular meeting schedule, so the December meeting is starting at 7:15. And then we need to approve that the December 13th, to approve the public hearing to happen on December 13th at 7 PM.
Okay, then the first part, do I hear a motion that we reschedule the meeting in December from 7 PM to 7:15 and so post?
So moved.
Second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second it.
Okay, All those, any
I'm
discussion?
not in favor. Could I say something?
Sure.
I'm not in favoring of changing two things. Why don't we
Okay.
just do the special meeting at 6:45 and not touch our regular time?
Okay, so here's any discussion on this. We're in the discussion period of the motion. So,
I just, the only reason I would say the public meeting at 7, you might have more input. And then have our meeting at 7:15. I think 6:45 is kind of a questionable hour if anybody had some concerns.
It also has to do with the strategic planning meeting that is 5 to 6:37-ish. So we were kind of giving ourselves a buffer there. That was the reasoning behind moving it. But we can
Great.
end the strategic plan meeting early if we need to. We just would have to make the decision.
at this point, I don't have any strong feelings about this. Did you want to, did you want to amend the motion, or did you want us to proceed with the motion and just have a vote to see if it carries? What's your plan? What would you like?
You
Anybody
asking
there?
for me?
I've got
asking
another
Um,
question on this.
Yeah.
December 13th is just before Christmas.
Oh, right.
I want to know why we would have a strategic planning meeting that night, because it's a very busy time for most families. So, and then let's schedule the public hearing and our regular meeting, but a lot of things get canceled then, and I don't see the strategic planning meeting that night. Kevin?
Okay, we have one scheduled, but so I can't say it's going to be canceled or not canceled. But if it's canceled, we can schedule the public hearing at 6:45, do the regular meeting at 7, and if the strategic planning meeting doesn't get canceled, because I don't know that, I'll reach out to the committee and see how the committee feels. If they want to keep going with it, we can just have a slightly shortened meeting. But you're right, it may very well just be that everybody's happy to not do it, and we just keep meeting a little bit through January, February.
Okay, so right now we have a motion on the floor that we have the hearing at what, 6:45 and the meeting at 7? Is that correct? Or did I get that
Mhm.
backwards?
No, I don't think so.
The
That's what I
motion,
was
the
pushing.
motion on the floor is change the regular meeting to 7:15 right now.
Okay.
That was first by
Thank you.
Gail, second by Althea.
Okay, is any discussion on that? Any further discussion about amending the motion, or should we stick with this one? Not hearing any amendments, I guess we proceed with this one. Given that we did have an ejection, we might want to have a voice vote by person to see if it
No.
carries. No? Who's a no?
I'm the one that questioned it, and I said, we
Yeah.
don't need a voice
Okay.
vote. We can do.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that's great. Okay, then we have the motion on the floor. We've had it seconded. We've had discussion. Hearing no further discussion, can I hear those in favor, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. And Kevin, you'll make sure that we all get notice of this and everything and whatnot.
Yes. So this
Yeah,
is the public hearing at
Did-
7, meeting at
was-
7:15.
Sorry.
Did any of the absentees contact anyone about their feelings, on something such as this, what was important? Because we really have a bare minimum here tonight.
Kevin, do we have a quorum?
We have a quorum.
Okay.
But we are still missing a goodly number.
Okay, and we have enough to carry it. We have enough to do business.
That's true. I just wish we had greater involvement. That's all I'm saying.
That would be nice.
So there's another option. We can table this motion for final consideration. We can proceed with the motion, and then at the next meeting, we could, I don't know when they're, if we do it the next meeting, we won't have time though, will we, to do
No.
all the scheduling?
We
Right.
still have we would have 30 days, so I think we would have time.
But I think we should go on with it, because the longer we squander time.
I agree with that, and we have already passed it, so there's
Yeah,
no
we already
point in
voted.
changing.
I
Right,
think
so
we
we're not
should,
gonna back up.
Right,
it's passed. I think we should leave it that way. And go forward. We can't,
yeah, and
Right.
if we,
we
if we
can't
run
put
in,
things off.
you know,
Right.
Gail, and we do run into any problems with this, you know, there's something we can reconsider, since
That's
according to
right.
Kevin, we do have enough time to do that,
Right.
if it, you know, comes up at the next meeting. Okay, I mean, we can reverse our position, as long as we haven't taken action on it, so. Okay, well, then we will leave it the way it is. Okay, and that takes care, does that take care of number one completely, Kevin?
I believe so, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And
Marion, can I
Mhm.
ask, did the motion include scheduling the public hearing, or was it just to change?
no,
the regular-
we haven't gotten to the public hearing yet.
That's correct, Donna.
Oh, it's not on there.
Okay, so we need a motion
Yeah.
to
Good point.
schedule the public hearing.
Go ahead. You can make the motion.
Thank you, Donna.
I'm kidding. Okay. Do I hear a motion that we schedule the public hearing for 7 o'clock?
I so move.
Okay, second.
I will.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Good catch, Donna. Thank you. Okay, now where are we? Number 2. That's the 2022 meeting schedule.
Yep, this is page 18 in the packet, and this is just, you know, standard second Monday of the month, with the exception of October. All meetings at 7 p.m. So I left at the bottom, all meetings are at the Douglas Library of Hebron unless otherwise specified, which is what we normally have. I don't know whether we'll still be virtual in January or what, but we'll just have to go forward and see with that.
It doesn't appear that any of these fall on, any holidays, right?
Other than the October one.
Yeah, we always fall on Columbus Day, so it gets pushed to the 17th next year.
Do we do the Jewish high holidays? I can't remember when they are next year.
We don't, the Hebron schools don't either.
Okay. I just wondered. Okay,
We don't recognize them officially as town holidays, but when we schedule our meetings, we do try to avoid those, you know, the high holidays.
let me just see. I'll
I know
type in.
when we do the selectmen's meeting schedule, I do check the Jewish holidays to make sure we
Let's
don't.
see. Where's the site? Here we go. Let's see, when's Hanukkah? That's it doesn't look like it. It's cute. It always get confused because the year ends in the middle of the year. So I have to go into the next year calendar. It drives me crazy. I think we're okay.
Yeah, Rosh Hashanah is the 25th, the 27th of September, and Yom Kippur is October 4th and 5th.
Yeah. Darn that lunar calendar. Okay. I think we're all set then.
And Kevin, did you say, are most of these going to be in person as far as you know?
I really don't know. It depends
Okay.
what the selectmen decide we want to, or if they would continue going virtual, we'll probably continue to be virtual. I would
Okay.
expect we might be virtual at least for the winter, but
Mhm.
I left this as it was because that's traditionally how I've submitted it and said that
Yeah, okay,
they're here unless otherwise noted.
Yeah,
okay.
it does look like Passover starts on April 15th. So we should be okay with that too. Okay. Excellent. Okay, all right, what's next in our little packet here? Do we have to adopt this right now?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion then to adopt the regular meeting schedule for 2022 as presented?
Sure, I'll do that.
I'll
And-
second it.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion is carried. And let's see, that would bring us down to number 3. We don't have to make any motions about sending notices out or anything like that, right?
No.
Okay, moving on to the new budget.
Okay, so first thing, CIP capital outlay is due middle of November. So we have 2 CIP submissions this year, and they're kind of what we've had for the last couple of years. It's nothing tremendously new. The first one in your packet on page 19 is the parking lot pulverize and repave. So this is something that's just been scheduled for the last couple of years, and it's just getting closer and closer. So it's scheduled for the fiscal year 23-24. I spoke to Kevin Kelly, and he said that seems like a reasonable schedule for the moment. And we've just been evaluating it every year, whether it seems like we can go another year or not. And then he had me adjust the price slightly. So that's just where we are on this. This would include repaving the parking lot, and then also repaving and restamping the brick area kind of out by Route 66.
Okay, and you said you adjusted the price up for the next year. Okay.
Yeah, Kevin had given me a suggestion. He said, put it up a little bit, and that's what I did.
Okay, and so, I mean, this is something we have to reconsider as the time grows closer for the next year, right?
Yep, we'll have to approve it again next year.
Okay. Do we have to approve, should we approve this year? That we submit this infrastructure request?
We could probably do both the CIPs.
At the same time, okay, all right.
I don't think we have to do a motion for each.
Okay, go ahead then, the next one then.
So the next one is library roof replacement, which once again, you've been hearing about for several years. So the one that you have in your packet is, I sent out the corrected one earlier today. I had the numbers slightly wrong, and Donna sent me what the ones were supposed to be. But this makes up, in the case that we don't get the grant money, this makes up the difference between what is projected to be the highest quote for the work and what we already have put aside from previous year's CIPs. So in fiscal year 17, we were approved for $98,500. And then fiscal year 21, we were approved for $241,167. So we need an additional 241. Wait, an additional.
Does this work?
I'm sorry, am I reading the right one here?
It's the amount that we're requesting for this year is going to be 252,890. And that
Okay.
brings it to the
890.
total, right? The total amount is 592,557. And what's that amount is higher than what is showing on the screen because that 555 does not include the soft costs. So the building committee has given us the worst case scenario all in is that 592, almost $600,000.
So this has to be amended?
This has to be amended. I can show you the corrected one on the screen. I think I just have the wrong one open here.
Okay,
So on your screen here, this is the corrected one. It just didn't end up in the packet.
okay.
Yeah, so for 890.
Does everyone understand what Donna just described?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone understands and that we're working on the one that he just put up on the screen, not the one that was in the packet, right?
Right.
Okay. And they're the only two that we have?
Those are the only two capital requests. I have some capital outlay requests as well, but we can do those separately.
Okay, could I have a motion then that these two capital projects infrastructure requests be presented using the one that the amended one for the library roof and the existing one for the pavement?
I so move.
I'll second that.
Okay, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. I for me too. Any abstentions or objections? I did that backwards. Let's try that again. Any objections? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion is carried.
Okay, great. So moving on to capital outlay. Oops, I'm in the wrong tab now. So the walls in the building are pretty scuffed up and could use a refresh, especially with the carpeting and everything else looking nice and new. It would be nice to freshen the building up because I don't believe a lot of it has been painted in quite some time. So I reached out in the spring to Serta Pro Painters who did the lobby. They redid that in last June, June 2020, and to have them do estimates for the rest of the building, that everything besides the lobby. So they gave me separate quotes for each floor, and I'm putting them in as capital outlay with the idea that we could do maybe one floor each year potentially.
I had a question for you. Because of the mold in the basement, does that change anything about repainting?
I don't know that it would.
Because I thought you said that there was some mold on the walls.
Yeah, but we wiped it off with a mold killing agent. So I don't think it would. If anything, I think it might be good to, I don't know, probably have to be cleaned, I guess, is what you're suggesting before it's painted.
Mm-hmm.
I would let the company know and see if that changed anything.
Okay, that would be interesting. And does this cost include all preparation and everything?
Yes, for each floor, it costs, yeah, everything. 2 coats of paint in each area.
Okay. Okay, and do we have to approve you to do this, or to do this request?
Yeah, if it's something that, yeah, I would need it approved to submit it.
Mm-hmm.
Can
Is
I
that-
can I jump in for a second?
You certainly can.
Sorry, it's Donna. So the painting has been in and out of capital projects and in and out of CIP over the last many years. And I thought, and this may go back a few years, but I thought the last time it was discussed, we were going to try to work it into the regular library building maintenance budget and try to do some every year so that we didn't have these huge requests that we would have to deal with. So that there would, every year a certain area or a certain section would get painted, and it would just be a part of the regular operating budget for building repairs and maintenance.
Donna, how many years would that go over? Would it be more than 3 years, right?
Well, I think we'd probably be doing a section
all the time, right?
Yeah,
every year.
So
But
how would the
Gail and
cycling
Alfie
go?
would
I
be-
mean, would it be like over every 5 years we would roll around and start again, or how would that work?
If we put
We would be-
$5,000 a year, then it would take 9 years, assuming everything kind of stayed roughly the same, which,
So maybe a 10-year cycle, because that's the expected life of the painting, right?
yeah, I mean, yeah.
But there's some things that need painting right away.
The whole building could use a refresh. I don't know that I want to wait to, 10 years to paint certain sections. I wasn't sure the most appropriate way to go about this because I thought doing it piecemeal through the building maintenance line, I didn't know that the whole building would get done in a reasonable amount of time, which is why I wrote it up this way. But if we wanted to pursue it that way, that's fine too. It's just something it needs to be addressed.
Is there any way to identify things that are like really need it absolutely now that wouldn't be able to be cycled through as Donna proposed?
So we could put some money towards it, and we can tell them where we want them to paint. So if there are worse areas, I could say focus here. But I guess I'm not sure. We wouldn't be able to get all the bad areas immediately because there's just a few of them.
Okay, and they're on all 3 floors, the bad areas.
Yeah. I mean, I see the basement floor the most because there's not a shelves and everything lining everything. But the basement and the stairwells for sure are probably in the worst shape. The stairwell. first
Without
to second floor.
specifying the floor, could we just put in a certain amount of money each year and then have it allocated as needed? Or
We could
instead of
do
saying
that.
basement, main floor?
No.
So I would just have to approach the company and say, this is kind of what we have to spend. What can we do with it? And they would work with me. That's how we ended up with the lobby getting painted a couple of years ago, was that I had the money towards the end of the year, and I just sort of said, we can do this much work. What can we get done for that? And this was in the lobby was my priority. So we were able to do it.
Donna, does that work with your idea of having it go through maintenance each year, Donna?
Yes.
Okay, so if we could identify places that needed repainting that were absolutely essential, then we could set up a schedule to go through and do the rest over a period of time as a maintenance expense rather than in a capital expense.
Okay, we can absolutely do that. Yeah.
Okay, so do you mind if we table this for the time being?
Or we table it? Do you want me to make, so we're just not submitting it this year. So right, do we need to table it, or we can just?
What do you think,
Aye.
Donna?
I mean, you can definitely submit it and see where it goes. I was just bringing up the last discussion we had about painting the whole building, because we do have a lot of new board members.
Okay.
And it does come up every few years about where in the budget it belongs.
I mean, most large projects, this is how they do it. They have an annual cycle over a period of time, usually 10 years for painting, and they do a different section each year and have a constant, annual expense as much as possible, and do it as a maintenance expense, because painting truly is not a capital expenditure.
Correct.
Right.
Right. So, any other discussion from the rest of the board members, how we want to proceed on this? Do we want to put this in this year, knowing that we'll probably not make it? Or do we want to work on the 10-year thing, or do both? Any thoughts?
I think do both, I think put it in for this year and see what happens. And then in the future, work on it as a maintenance type thing, because you're right about that. It is more maintenance than a capital type expenditure. And I don't remember about CertaPro. Are they a local business?
They're the one that was suggested to me to when I asked for a vendor to get a quote from. They were the one that was suggested. So I don't know exactly if they're local. I feel like they're not super local.
Yeah, I haven't heard of them. That's what I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah, but I think that, by putting in some on CIP this year, since we have done so much work, we had the HVAC, we had the carpeting, so there are definite areas that, there was moving of shelves and so forth, that this year might be able to put in for painting, and then putting on a maintenance schedule in the future.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's the same thought.
Okay, all right. CertaPro, I believe, is a franchise painting company, and they
Right.
have
Oh.
offices all over the state. Which one are we going through?
Let me pull up the. I'm gonna stop.
And the town has used CertaPro in the past.
Yeah, but because I know there's one in West Hartford. I know there's one in Waterbury. I know there's one around Glastonbury somewhere.
But that number that Kevin is presenting would just be a budgetary number. We
Mhm.
would
Okay.
get proposals, and
Mhm.
there may be local people, Hebron people
Yeah,
that would be willing to do more of a, an hourly rate, and we might be able to get more out of our money if we did it that way. For certain sections, I know some of the sections probably need scaffolding and all of that, but for, some of the sections, a local individual may be able to do it.
Mhm.
okay,
So
so,
they're located
Right.
in Basra, but it says like Mystic-Glastonbury is what the
yeah,
billing
because
themselves as.
I mean, there's one I know in West Hartford too. So anyway, so I guess then we would probably want to put this capital outlay request in just for the money and not for the vendor. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do
But
I have
the
a,
vendor it's for quoting for budget purposes only.
okay, so basically the motion would be that we submit the capital outlay request for this particular amount of money using the quote that we got from CertaPro, but not adopting them as the vendor, correct?
Right.
Wow, that was hard. Okay, does anyone want to make that motion for us?
Oh, I will.
Okay, do I have a second for it?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any, all those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so the motion has been adopted and we're expecting it to be denied. And so, Kevin, if you could go forward and think about ways that this could be done over time
Sure.
and
it's just-
identify areas. I know, add this to your list.
Yeah.
You're a painting contractor.
I'll do it myself for my lunch breaks.
We'll give you a little paintbrush and send you out there. Okay, I think okay, general
then-
fund.
General fund, what I included in the packet, and we haven't had any direction yet from the town as far as what we need, what they would like us to submit. But I just know that we like to get started early here. So we have a couple of meetings to discuss things until usually in January is when we really submit stuff. So I prepared kind of a continuation budget for the library, just bumping a couple of percentages for inflation. I don't have quotes from everybody as far as like, locking in their rates for next year's from certain vendors. But I wanted to show you this as a baseline, and then we could have a discussion about what, if any, initiatives we would like to start looking into. And then I can start putting initiatives together as well, so we can have a full budget by the time we need to have one.
Do you need funds for like the locker system?
The locker system should be all set through this fiscal year. We should be, that should be paid for through the grant. And then I think we have about a year's worth of funds for covering the service fee for that. So we should be good with the locker system. But
Gail,
Sure.
Gail,
Could
did
I
I?
ask a question?
Sorry. Go ahead.
Could
Sorry.
It's not the locker system, but it comes to mind because of it. At the time of that, the Historic Properties Commission was invited to come and take a look to see where the lockers should best be located. Well, several of us did do that. And then we made a recommendation that the book donation, that ugly rusty box should be removed, and there should be a different method of people submitting their donations, which we did. And could that request fit in here somewhere so that might be changed if people are in favor of it?
I would guess that would amount to more of a CIP request. We'd have to do research. We'd have to get a contractor in here to price out what something like that would cost. And then depending on how much it costs, it would either end up in the general fund or capital outlay or CIP.
Donna, are you in agreement with that? You, Donna, are you in agreement with that?
With, we would need to know what the budget number would be, but Kevin is correct.
Mhm.
It's probably going to be more than $10,000, and depending what would be involved, it could fall into the CIP. Because there's
Okay.
reconfiguring and blowing through the walls and things like that, from what I remember the recommendation.
Yeah, and it would probably be laying down a couple of
Okay.
concrete slabs too.
Right, right.
Okay. Now, didn't I hear someone mention that they're going to be having a meeting shortly about next year's budget that may give us some direction
That meeting is tomorrow.
tomorrow? I'm sorry.
Right.
Is this something we should hold off until we have more direction? Or is this something we should throw around now? Or
What you probably should do now, this is very preliminary, but it's a good place to start, is if you have any initiatives or anything new that you would like Kevin to do research on or get some budget numbers for, that you want to try to work into the budget, or anything major that you want to change. And then he could bring that back to you at your at November meeting. And then in the December meeting is probably when you would be looking to approve your recommended budget.
okay,
Because they're usually due to the finance department in the middle of January.
middle of January. Okay,
The
and
only
Kev,
question I
sure,
have,
go,
okay,
go ahead,
I
please.
have a question. You know, I know earlier we brought up the fact about the mold. Do we have a contract, or are we protected from the HVAC system that we will, we can get other, someone in if there is still a problem next summer?
I'm not exactly sure what our protection is. I would imagine so, but I would have to reach out and ask how long that we're able to go back if things aren't working correctly.
I mean, that's a concern I have when you mention mold. I mean, mold in a library is not a good thing.
No, a lot of paper. Is that something, Kevin, you can do in your spare time?
Absolutely, ask the question. Yeah, and Andy was really great. I mean, he was very quick about helping me with that. So now he'll be
Okay, great.
for that.
And just, Kevin, can you confirm that the mold was confined to the lower level?
Yeah, we haven't seen any on the other levels.
Right.
Yeah.
So just so that, everybody's, not too overly concerned that it was, mold is not a good thing, but it was confined to the meeting room area, and that in particular, the worst area was in the closet where we store the chairs. And with the library being, with that area being closed, there's not been a lot of activity there. There's not been a lot of, movement in there. Plus, with the huge, unusual amounts of rain and humidity we had those during that time, it was just an unusual event. So we don't anticipate that that's going to be an ongoing issue, and definitely will know to keep an eye on it now. And then really they were due to come back and do the balancing. So this really forced their hand to do it.
Well, I just remembered that we go back a couple of years with the backup in the water system, with the drain and everything. We've had problems. And, so I just want to be proactive and not have a problem and be left with a huge expense in the future. So that's why I was just bringing it up.
Well, Kevin, if you could go back and check how much we basically have a warranty for or guaranteed that they'll come back and try to address that. Is this like powdery mildew, the white mold?
I don't know about powdery mildew. I can't really speak to it. It's just white. It was like, it's just kind of a general, yeah, a
Did-
little bit of spotting, and then there was a kind of fuzzy on the chairs.
Fuzzy?
Yeah.
Okay. We're not doing any tests to find out what type of mold it is, right?
At this point, no. It's something we could certainly look into. I wanted to
mean,
make sure that it seemed like everything was fixed and it wasn't still growing before I considered.
Yeah.
the
Because
next-
usually, I mean, if I remember, aspergillus is the one that's white, like bread mold, mildew type stuff.
Yeah, red mold is a good comparison to what was on the chairs.
So it's not like black mold, which will kill us all if we walk in there, right?
No, I didn't die, so
Okay,
not
good.
yet, no.
Yeah. Okay. Does that help answer your question?
I think so.
Okay, cool. Okay. So what do I forget what we're doing. What the hell we are doing?
We are in general.
Oh, looking at the budget. Yes. Okay. And this basically, Kevin, was a carryover from last year, is basically based on the expenses and what we expended last year.
Yeah, and then last year we had 3 initiatives that we submitted on top of our continuation budget. One of them, which was approved, was to take the cleaning service from 3 days a week to 5 days a week. And then we had an initiative to open up a few hours each Sunday for service, and an initiative to increase the salaries for the LTA 1s and LTA 2s.
Okay, because the minimum wage is going up.
Yeah, minimum wage goes up to $14 an hour July 1st, so that'll affect the entirety of this budget. And then it goes up to 15 on June 1st, 2023. So right, in this budget, that would get us through that fiscal year, but then we would need to deal with it a little bit more the next one. I would like to be more proactive than that, but we could scrape by with what's in this budget.
Okay, and I don't see, and this is using the current hours without any expansion of time?
Yep, this is the current number, hours at the projected salary rates, with a little bit of a bump for that last month where people may be making a little bit more.
So, I mean, if we did want to open on expanded hours, though, it would require more employment, or is it something that could be handled with the current payroll?
It would need more staff time.
Okay. Let's see.
So same thing, Peter's not at the meeting tonight, but I know that's one of his priorities, and he had asked me that he'd like to see that the numbers put together for that. So I don't mind doing that. I have the spreadsheet from last year. It'll be pretty easy to just transfer over what the salaries are. The part-time rates would be a little bit different from last year.
Okay. And so would you, I know there was a proposal to open on Sundays, and there was also a proposal to expand the number of hours that are open each day. Could you, do a projection on the differences? Or what would be more recommended, something you could recommend better?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be tremendously different. It's kind of like 1 more hour of open time is a certain amount of staff time.
Okay.
It wouldn't be tremendously different. But yeah, those are 2 different ways. We could even look at what it would be per hour to expand, whether we're opening up at 10 or something like that instead of noon a couple days, or expanding Saturday hours or whatever we're talking about.
Okay. Did anyone have any questions on this, by the way? Anyone spot anything that struck them or felt that there was something else that needed to be included?
I'll just make a comment, Pat.
Yeah.
In talking with many people around town for the last couple of years, one thing that they always ask is, if I'm working all week and I come into the library on Saturday, whoops, I just got done in the supermarket, it's 3 o'clock, the library is closing.
Yeah.
So it's been very, very universal asking if the library could stay open 1 more hour on Saturday till 4 o'clock. And I've always wanted to open the library September through June only for 3 hours on Sunday afternoon for the students to come in and access whatever they may need for their assignments.
Mhm. So is that something you would like to see included in the budget that we're going to present with the extra hours and openings?
I think if Kevin can do it, I would like to see the 1 hour on Saturday included in it. I think that might be a wish list to say the 3 hours
Sunday?
on Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, I
But
always
it's-
get, excuse me.
I've always wanted to do that. And like I said, not during the summer. I don't think it would have enough traffic, but
Yeah.
during the school year for especially high school youngsters.
Yeah, and I always get confused about closing hours and opening hours, and it would be nice to have like a really unified schedule. Because I can't keep it in my brain when, what days are open, what days close early, et cetera, et cetera. So,
We got a
Well,
lot of feedback from that in the strategic plan surveys that we just received. A lot of people want to see standardized hours. Some people want to see later hours, some people want to see earlier hours, some people want later. Saturdays came up, Sundays came up a few times. People want more hours, for sure.
did you have a chance to look at them, Gail, what people were asking for?
yes, and one, for those who want earlier hours, we have a couple of days a week at 10. Those who want later hours, we have a couple that open at noon. But one thing because I go to so many libraries, the number of hours that we are open per week is not quite where I would like to see for a town of this size.
Oh,
But our irregular schedule is, all size libraries seem to have an irregular schedule. They can't justify a
mhm.
long day, 6 days a week. So,
True. Okay, okay,
it's
so,
foot traffic that tells you whether or not we need
Mhm.
to be open more.
okay. All right. And Kevin, you're going to be considering all those factors.
Well, so what I've been asked for is 1 hour Saturdays to expand from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays for the entire year,
Mhm.
and then 3
Yep.
hours Sunday, September through June as two separate proposals.
Okay,
If it were up to me, I would just do 9 to 5 or 10 to 5 on Saturday. I feel like that's maybe a little bit easier to remember than 10 to 4.
That
I
would
don't
be
know.
nice to go to 5, but
You could potentially do 10 to 5.
Somebody is
Friday,
ringing.
Saturday. Something like that, maybe. I don't know. I'm just thinking if you can get the hour from somewhere else.
Yeah.
one of the things that I think we should pay attention to is perhaps put it out, we want to open till 4. Oh, we'd love to open till 5, is the feasibility of getting it approved.
Mhm.
How much money is it going to cost?
Yep.
I used to do those things. I would take the average pay, multiply it out by, okay, in this case, it's 1 hour, 52 weeks a year. And how much is that going to cost? Which isn't very much, of course, but maybe we could make it feasible. Because if we're open on another hour, there has to be a senior clerk in there. So that, that's a little bit more in the pay.
True.
Well, yeah, so to open another hour would be 4 clerks. So at least one of the 4 would need to be a senior. Usually it's 2 seniors, 2.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's something to consider, and in terms of what we're going to be putting in. Library materials. That's hard materials, right?
Well, it includes electronic too.
Electronic too. Okay. I can't think of anything of course, this is where the painting would go, wouldn't it?
Painting would go into, yeah, that would be something in building maintenance if we were going to bump that line up.
Mhm.
which, you know, it may be fine. I don't know. There's always kind of a pillow in building maintenance because you never know exactly what's going to go wrong.
True.
So it's hard to say whether we really need more money or we just kind of have to need not things to go wrong and we're fine.
Yeah, that's
We
nice.
just have to spend more money and not spend it. I
Yeah,
mean, I
that-
would
that-
like to.
that doesn't work. I tried
I
that.
don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to try and bump up the pay rate, the pay increase for the LTAs. I think that it's a skilled job, and I think that they should be making a decent amount more than minimum wage. And I think that,
Yeah,
that's something that
Yeah, we are low compared to the rest of the state.
we're low compared to the rest of the state, and it's also kind of demoralizing too. You know, they were never, I would say we were never paying at the high end of what we were doing, but we were at least, there was at least some space there.
Mhm.
You were making, I think, 375 more than minimum wage as a one, and then 5 more as a 2. So I would like to create that space again. Yeah, I think it'd be appropriate somewhere in the 20 to 22 range for seniors and somewhere in the 18 to 20 range for juniors. There isn't a statewide recommendation on it. They released a report about a month ago that just had average salaries for average hourly rates for the state. And but that also doesn't increase what's going to happen with minimum wage is going to bump all those averages up. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
pin ourselves to that.
What I looked at was all the ads for staff from all the different libraries in the state, what they were offering.
Well, you see
And-
that, and
much
Yeah.
more than
makes a
us.
big deal. You
A lot
can-
more than us, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
like sometimes you'll see an ad for somebody for, you know, $25 an hour for what we pay $13.75 for.
Okay,
So
can I
it's not
apply?
su-
No. Okay.
Yeah, it's not surprising. That's partly why we have the turnover that we have, is that people get their foot in the door, they get a little experience, and they go somewhere that they can make 175% of what they make. So I think it would benefit us from a stability point of view. You know, it would hopefully get better applicant pools. You know, we would maybe get more experienced people that want to work here. But
Okay.
it's something that we saw in our survey that were on my mind because we were just talking about it, was that over and over again, the staff is what people like and think of when they think of the library, is the great customer service that they get.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most important things that we offer. So I think we need to invest in it. I know that it's never an easy ask to ask for more money for something, but
Yeah. Okay, and so we'll have more guidance tomorrow, Donna, you said, from the meeting, you know, about what the budget's going to look like. Okay, she's
We
nodding.
hope so. We hope so.
Okay. All right, if anybody has any further thoughts on this or wants any more input on this, it would be nice to think carefully about the different categories and things that you would like to see fit into the budget. Things that could be, I hate to say cut, but things could also that you'd like to see increased. There isn't much here to, there's not much to cut here. There's not much meat on the bone here.
I've been worried about it, having money for a change of church and everything, so.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd like to get a little input, taking us back on that book donation box on possibly changing the configuration. My question is, does anyone feel that that's a good suggestion and we should pursue it for the future, at least put it on our wish list, or just forget about it?
No. I think we should investigate it and see what the cost would be, actually.
Well, I want to know how the group feels. I mean, you know, some people might support it and some say the heck with it.
Well, and you
So
know,
I'm
me basically was going to be, how much is it going to cost? You know what our various options are, but That's my only feeling on it. How about other people?
I wasn't sure what Mary Ann was referring to.
Oh, that the book depository, how ugly it is, where you put your books in,
Oh,
and
I
a
see.
different way up for the donations, see that ugly
Yeah.
box. And that to have something that I believe was something that went inside rather than sat outside. Am I correct?
Well, we went through all this back in, I think it was the spring,
Yeah.
and we submitted, a lengthy report, and Kevin did some pictures of different things, and we
Mhm.
talked about getting rid of that big, ugly,
Yep.
rusty box, and
Oh.
instead cutting a hole through the building to the right of that box where a slide would take all the donation books right down to the basement, which is where they're stored and sorted and utilized. So it
Oh.
would accomplish two things. Items would not have to be hauled in and out and around, and they also could get rid of that ugly thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So you might, like I said, I anything that would help the library look better, if we can just fit it into our expenditures. So,
So I
oops,
think this is, oops,
here's a picture.
this is kind of what I think the envisioning was when we were talking about potentially putting the locker over there.
Uh-huh. Oh, I
Um,
see.
So you see like there'd be like another drop box almost in that.
Is that where we cut through the wall there?
So that's like right above the back annex area where the Friends do have some things stored. It seems like it's in the right location where we could potentially put some sort of, a slide in a bin that could fill up almost like a book drop. But, there are a lot of considerations with it.
It does look
Um,
better,
It would look
in my-
very nice.
yeah, yeah.
You need to make sure the room does need to be fire safe because
Ah,
in case somebody, puts a burning item or something like that, it needs to
Oh, you mean
protect
so-
the
yeah.
building.
not that that
Um,
ever happens,
Yeah, well, you got to be careful. And
Yeah. And sticky liquids that get poured down there too.
Oh, gee.
Yep.
I think it's like a very attractive idea. I think it's not high on my priority list, but I mean, if it could be done, I would love to see it done.
Okay. Is that, then that's something we'll send you off to think about in your spare time.
I don't know how much I can get together for November, honestly, because
Well, you
there's
can, you
kind of
can
a lot
make
of
a,
moving parts
you
here.
can make a, yeah, you can make a list of all the considerations, I would think. You
I
know,
can- I
like,
can work on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, cutting through what's there in terms of wiring, cables, making it weatherproof and tamper-proof and, all the considerations that would have to go into it.
I would think that something like this would be more likely to be something we discuss for next year's budget than something that could come together in time for this year. But I still
I
think
just want to know if people are interested, and then we can put it on our wish list. That's
Right.
all.
Okay.
I just want to know if there is support there from the trustees to pursue this in the future. That's my question.
Trustees, any thoughts on this? Well, that's,
Well, I think it's something, yeah, to consider for the future. I don't
Okay.
think we can do it right now, but yeah, something for the future. I think would be
Okay.
good.
So
Can I
basically
suggest
the wish
that-
list.
Yeah.
Kevin, check with the fire marshal before you
Mm.
go too far, because he will probably be able to tell you right up front if something is possible or
Excellent idea.
not. So
Okay.
let's
Yeah,
check with
Randy
him
was my
first.
first call. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, because you are cutting through a wall, exterior wall.
Well, you already have the book return, which has cut through a wall. So
Right.
we know, in the past it's been approved. I mean, that could have, someone could throw gasoline and a match in there. I mean,
But the room is specially designed where the books go into, so it's firewalled.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. That's interesting to know. Okay. All right. Well, let's look, look into it and see if it's number one, a possibility. And maybe it looks like it's so late this year, we probably will have to put it into next year.
Hmm.
So, Does that sound like a good idea to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we'll put it on the pie in the sky right now, our wish list, as we
Yeah.
call it. Yeah, okay, excellent. Any other thoughts on the budget? Did we give you enough guidance, Kevin?
Yeah, I think so. I'll ask questions if I have anything, and when you get the packet, and if you're looking for something different, then I'll prepare that and get that too. So. but I
Okay,
think-
excellent. Oh, you're so accommodating. Thank you.
But I do, I
Okay.
accommodate.
All right, then hearing, if there's no other discussion on this item, can we move on to the Harvest Moon Fest?
Please.
There's not much to, the Harvest Moon Fest item was just that at one point, they were looking for groups to assist with trick or treating. And I forget, it was suggested to me at one point, just to bring it up here as a potential in case there was interest in doing a trick or treating station among the trustees. That's all it was. And, it would be a commitment for a few hours on.
Okay,
Saturday.
yeah. Are you saying that it'll be trick or treating for the trustees to get treats, or that we'll be giving them out?
Yeah, you can, if you dress up as a convincing child, I think you can go get some treats.
Okay, okay,
But yeah, they do trick or treating, I think from 6 to 7, might be from 5 to 7, a couple hours up and down Main Street. There were just the town center project was looking for other groups at one point.
okay. And so this would be something that would be
Just
done
on
through
the
the,
north side,
I'm
Just on
sorry?
the side.
just on the north side.
Okay. So you're looking for volunteers, basically?
It would be kind of the trustees doing it on their own. It would be.
Oh.
So it could be under the guise of the library too. They asked me and I said that we don't have the staff because we're doing the haunted library during that same time period. So I had suggested maybe the Friends or the association or but if we wanted to do it under the guise of the library as volunteers, that would be great too.
Okay, so the funding for the treats would come from,
Well, we have to pay for them, so I think we could take it out of the programming fund, I would think.
okay,
It's a program.
What's the date? I don't remember the
Saturday.
date. It's
It's
this
this
Saturday.
this Saturday?
Yeah, it's very soon.
Okay, and again, the hour, and the trick or treating would be when?
I would plan on 5 to 7.
5 to 7? So, I mean, do we just show up or what?
I would say if you are interested, tell me and I will reach out and get more information.
Okay. All right, so he just volunteered more of his time for that, so. Yeah, it would be nice, I guess, if, a few people, besides they're cute when they're all dressed up.
It's a
actually.
wonderful event. It's very well attended. I'll be working this Saturday as I have that in the past when we've done it. You got a lot of foot traffic on Main Street for this
Mhm.
event. Didn't happen last year, of course, because nothing happened, but the year before, Main Street was flowing with happy people.
Okay, all right, so anyone who's interested, reach out to Kevin.
I'll be out of town.
Aha. Yeah, I have to check my schedule and see, but I might, that sounds like something would be fun to do.
I'll check my
Yeah, and I'll be
schedule.
working, so I'll be working there.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
Me too.
all right.
all right, excellent. How about other new business?
I have something. Trick or treating is from 5:30 to 6:30.
Thank
I
you.
just checked the schedule.
That's
but
not very
I do-
long.
I do have something under other new business. I just want to bring to the board's attention in case you hear it somewhere else, just to give you a heads up. And this is very preliminary conceptual plan. The town's been working with ESC. That's the company that did the HVAC improvements to the library. But we've been working with them on solar for town buildings. And we have a very preliminary proposal for potentially putting in a solar canopy in the library's back parking lot. So the library building itself does not lend itself to solar on the roof. We're looking at solar on some of the roofs of town buildings and the schools, but the idea came up that we have that nice big parking lot in the back now, and that a solar canopy could fit there nicely. It would be able to provide pretty much 100% of the power for the library. And then incorporated into the canopy would be electric vehicle charging stations. And there's a lot of new funding that will become available probably next year. So we are looking at the feasibility of that, but just wanted you to know that that's something that's being discussed. If you hear it, it's not a done deal. We know there's approvals that we would need to receive. But I just wanted to make you aware of it.
When you're talking about the solar canopy, you're talking about the kind that sort of looks like a little lean-to thing that you can park the car under?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they have them at the Buckland Hill Mall.
They do. Yes.
That would be very nice.
Yeah.
Would that
So
come
there-
from grant money? Sorry.
Mhm.
But that would come from grant money or something? Or?
No, it wouldn't. There's no capital outlay, no initial outlay. They install it, and then what we do a power purchase agreement and buy the power, and it kind of pays for itself. But there's no outlay from the town or from the library.
And how big would it be? Sorry.
There was a very preliminary design, and if you think about that, the back parking lot where the parking spaces are kind of in the middle of the lot,
Yeah.
that it was like that big.
Oh,
like as
wow.
big as, it's pretty decent. I don't know how many vehicles, how many spots park underneath it. And then, like I said, we would incorporate electric vehicle charging stations. And there's a really exciting grant coming for that, where they pretty much pay you or pay to have the power, the trenching and the power and the lines and everything run from the building to the charging station. So a lot of it would be, funding that we could get through the power company. So there's a lot of legwork that still needs to be done, but just very preliminary concept right now.
That sounds interesting.
It does.
And it could also be educational, because you can have some type of monitoring on your computers that you could see how much energy is being, how much solar energy we're making, and how it's offsetting what we need to run the building. And there, the programs, they do it in some of the schools where the kids are learning about what's going on. So we could use that as educational tool.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah. Good.
So,
Good.
yeah.
Okay.
We'll keep you posted.
Keep the parking lot in mind when you're doing it, so we don't have a fresh paved parking lot that we.
Right.
Yeah.
And you could use a canopy like you do a tent too, Kevin. You could have little functions out there too.
Yeah, and I'll have power. I won't have to run an extension cord.
Exactly. You got it all set. I think you could even get little screens that go on the side. So, okay. Thank you, Donna. Is there any other new business?
I have a question. Kevin, is there any talk or anything or planning for children's holiday party this year?
I haven't heard anything about that happening. That was something that was normally spearheaded more by the town center project that we kind of would do programming in addition to, but I haven't heard anything about that. So yeah, it sounds like it's not happening.
Excuse me, I got to take my dog. I'll be right back.
It was not the town center project that did that.
Oh,
Never.
it was.
No, they didn't even
It was
exist.
us.
It was
We
the
did
it.
library.
Yeah.
It was the library board of trustees,
Oh,
and in
Yeah.
conjunction with the library staff.
The town
And then
center
with
project
Parks
wasn't
and
even
Rec.
in
And the
existence.
Historical Society.
Okay, okay,
We-
that's, because I know
I
it was
can
Parks
tell
and
you-
Rec, like, was kind of, okay.
Yeah, in Parks and Rec. It was,
Yeah.
it was a town function. It was not the town center project function. It
Yeah.
was town departments.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah. We actually bought the rec department in with us.
Right. You're-
That's right,
yeah.
Althea. We spearheaded having that
Right.
holiday
Yes.
party.
Yeah, we brought them in with us. We were the
Yes.
originals.
Yep.
well, yeah, maybe I'll reach out and see, I'm assuming that we're doing some sort of a tree lighting or something anyway, so I can,
Yeah.
maybe I'll make some calls and see what's up with that then.
I can tell you that the town center project is going to be bringing the snowmen back, or the snow folk back. They're going to go out the week after Thanksgiving. And that weekend, we may have a carol sing and a tree lighting. So the weekend after Thanksgiving.
Okay,
Mhm.
So that
Good.
may be something that we can, work on
Cool.
together.
Yeah.
yeah, so it would end, it looks like it's the 4th, it would maybe end up being the day if it were a thing that happened, okay.
I think my Zoom just went down.
You're still up there, Pat, we
We
can hear
can
you.
hear you.
Yeah, because I don't see myself anymore. Something weird happened.
We see you.
We see
Okay.
you.
All righty,
See you
good.
and hear you.
Kevin's gone. No. See.
Ah.
Okay. Let's see. Is there any other new business? Yes, no? Okay. Strategic plan committees. Hello?
So.
Am
the-
I
so
still there? I can't tell. So if I'm not there, I don't know what to say.
You're still here.
Okay.
So strategic plan update, you basically got the committee update throughout the meeting. We went over the results of the survey today, and then next month we will start brainstorming actual goals that we can eventually turn into the plan. So that's where we're at with that.
So let's. Go.
May I ask a question about that?
Mhm.
When the strategic plan, when the survey went out, we had a meeting, and your committee had a meeting just prior to ours, and then it was put out to the public.
Yep.
But we, the trustees, never saw that survey before it was put out, and I'm just wondering about that in future, and how the trustees will be involved.
Well, I think the strategic plan committee comes up with a strategic plan, and then it gets approved by the trustees at the end of the process. So we can't.
Okay, but I'm talking about the survey never went out to us ahead of time.
Yeah, my understanding
we
was that
didn't
it didn't
approve the
need to be
survey.
approved by the trustees. It was a strategic plan committee process. Yeah.
When did that survey initially go out?
For the month of September, so it went live on September 1st through the 30th.
And there was definitely articles in the paper in River East about it. And, if you, wanted to go online, or you could go into the library and get a copy.
That was out for quite a while. I mean, 'cause I
Yes.
remember-
Wow. I had a bad month. I never even saw it.
Don't get out much, huh?
Apparently, I can't believe it. It was just I started in just a quick personal note. In August, I had a blood clot in my lung.
Oh, no.
And then I had a car accident and stuff. So I guess I'm really way behind. So
How are you doing now?
going to physical therapy and stuff, and plus besides taking care of my husband and stuff.
Jeez.
I didn't realize I was so far behind in things. I'm just sitting here going, oh my God, I'm listening to this and that. I'm like, wow. So
Well, it sounds like you were taking care of some very important things.
Yeah, and other things, and I just, so I'm done, sorry, go ahead.
Well, if you want, I think Kevin could send you, if you wanted to do the survey.
Yeah,
I'd love to see it.
Sure.
Yeah,
Of course.
I mean, I think we actually did, I think I even sent one in at one point.
Yeah,
That'd be
And
great.
that has not been my point. My point was that I just feel that we should have received copies of it and maybe had some input, but I guess that wasn't necessary.
No, I don't think so.
no, it's a committee work, I think. Thank you.
They did all that hard work for us, so we didn't have to.
I think that by not having our September meeting, it might have not been brought up at the time about the
Mhm.
survey. You know, they're little glitches, but
Yeah, it was certainly mentioned in the packet. I don't know if the survey itself was in there. I don't know. Yeah, it sounds like it wasn't, but I know I would have mentioned it.
Sorry
Well,
about
we
that.
all received the newsletter and it was talked about there. So
Right.
everyone could access it.
Yeah, yeah, I believe they were also giving it out in the library too, weren't they?
That's,
Oh, yes,
that's
it will.
correct.
Yeah. Okay, well, sorry we missed you. I thought it was fairly good. They did a lot of work on it, so,
Sure they did, yeah.
yeah. Okay, is there any other having to do with strategic planning committees or any other issues coming up? Because it looks like we're moving towards adjournment. Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. I'm always the first one to.
Not hearing anything else, do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
And I love to second that one.
Okay, all those in favor, yes, aye.
Aye.
9:03.
Okay. Oh, God, yeah, it is. Okay. So I guess we're done for the evening, Kevin?
You are? We will stop recording.